Everyone is out here worried about pooping at delivery, and I am here to tell you that the poop you should be concerned about is that first poop after delivery. Today, I'm going to tell you why it's a big deal and how to make it less hard, literally, and I'm going to share my experience so that you can learn how to do it better than Hilary did. And yes, this is like one of those things, like people are so worried about like delivery and all of that, and they totally forget postpartum. I have a postpartum plan that you guys can grab on my website that's going to give you an idea of what to expect after baby and start making some plans together. I'm going to put the link down below. Okay, that first poop can be really hard, and I'm talking about literally, like it can be painfully hard, and there's a few reasons for that. First off, if you take narcotics, so I'm not talking about Tylenol or ibuprofen, but a lot of people after they had their baby, because they rip, they might take some narcotics. And narcotics slows down your GI tract, which ultimately makes that poop harder. Other people will say that that's constipated, but it makes it harder for it to come out and can be really painful when you're already a little bit wrecked in your downtown. By the way, if you've had a C-section, you also don't want to strain a lot because your belly hurts. And so this applies to both vaginal deliveries and C-section mamas. Another thing is that after you have your baby, you're probably just going to be in bed more. First off, you're breastfeeding a whole lot. You're kind of sitting around. You don't feel so great. You've just had a really big medical event, and per the usual, you're just in bed more. Now, I hear the advice a lot about staying in bed for like 3 or 6 days and then around the bed. And I always get concerned when I see that because it's still important that we're moving. You want to make sure that you're getting up to the restroom. You want to make sure that you're doing those things that make you feel like a human, like brushing your teeth, washing your face, things like that. You want to make sure that you're walking out to the fridge, getting the food that we're going to talk about, so stay tuned. Still, you want to be walking and moving, not just laying in the bed. And there are cultures out there where they encourage mom to literally just lay in the bed after baby is born. And ultimately, that can have consequences like constipation and problems with this very issue. Now, this doesn't make it harder, but the muscles in that area are just different. You've either just pushed out a baby or you've had a C-section where we have sliced into your abdominal muscles. But your pelvic floor has had a lot going on. And so as you push, it's just different because those muscles are still healing. And along with that, a lot of times, if you've had a vaginal delivery, that area of your body has just seen too much action. It is swollen, it is tender, you might have stitches. And so just a lot is going on down there. And with that, you also are thinking, I really don't want to push to have this come out of my body. And so you might be kind of like holding it off because you simply don't want to have another thing come out of your body in that area, which is totally valid. But you got to remember, the longer you let it just hang out, the worse it is ultimately going to be. As a note, some of you may also have hemorrhoids, which is when part of your rectum sort of comes out as you're pushing. You might have gotten them during pregnancy, or a lot of people get them when they push out their baby. Again, something else that you're like, I don't need any more going on down there. Nothing should be coming out of these holes. And for moms who've had a C-section, we are right by your intestines while we're in there. And when anything gets close to your intestines just say, never mind, we just ain't going. So sometimes your intestines need some time to restart. We watch that really carefully in the hospital to make sure if you've had a C-section, it's that, are you passing gas? Like all those different kinds of things. Now, you do not have to have a BM before you go home from the hospital, but you do need to be passing gas, especially if you've had a C-section. And yes, information like this is so magical. Be sure and like this so you can see more videos like this. But really, guys, you want the information that's really going to prepare you. So subscribe so we can hang out for the rest of your pregnancy. I promise not all my videos are in this same realm. C-section mamas, as your intestines are restarting, I definitely recommend that you start slow. You are not going to want to like cheeseburger it right up. Back in the day, we started you with a clear liquid diet, and then we extended it to like yogurts and eggs and things like that. Talk with your providers about what they recommend for you. You know, once you start to pass gas, then things are a little more free flowing, if you will, but something to think about as you get those intestines and your GI tract going again. And while we are here, if you're like, wow, this is a lot of information about postpartum that I've never heard about, come join me in the online prenatal class for couples. We actually have 2 whole chapters about postpartum When I taught classes for my hospital, postpartum was just like an asterisk at the end. And when I took my baby classes, I don't know if it was even an asterisk other than it'll just be like unicorns and rainbows when your baby comes home. Get prepared for postpartum. Come join me in the online prenatal class for couples where we prepare both of you because you're going to be at home with your partner. They need to be prepared as well. Okay, so what can we do to make all of this easier? I have told you about the uphill battle we are fighting, but what can we do to make it easier? First off, stool softeners. Now, you probably have not taken a stool softener for much of your life. Maybe you have. I don't know. I hadn't. And so when they offered it in the hospital, luckily I had sister-in-laws who were like, take the stool softeners, which I did. The problem is they were giving me Ducosate sodium, which I ultimately think does absolutely nothing. It did nothing for Hilary back in the day. I much prefer something called Senna. In fact, when I had my appendix out last year, I was like, do not give me Ducosate. I want the Senna. And it made things a lot better. So if they're offering you the Ducosate, which is like a little round red liquidy type pill, ask them for Senna instead. This isn't a big deal. It's not like one is way more expensive than the other. And in fact, when you go home, you can buy Senna over the counter. Just make sure you are taking them religiously. And don't forget about them when you go home. Great tip for the partners. Make sure that you are still taking that stool softener. In fact, I might recommend having an alarm set in your phone for however often they recommend that you take them, because it is so easy to forget when you're almost just like running a 24-hour schedule with baby. Other things you can try is like Metamucil or Miralax. I like the Senna because it's just a pill and who's got time for Miralax? But those other two can make your stools even softer. And I'm also here to say that we can definitely overshoot things and make it too soft. So, you're going to have to trial and error this once you have that first BM. You are looking for like a smooth, easy consistency. You're not looking for it to be watery. You're looking for it to very easily come out and not hurt anything as it is doing so. And yes, sometimes when I film these videos, I'm like, who are you? Why are you filming this? But I hope this information is going to be super helpful. Let's keep going. Okay, another thing you should be doing during pregnancy is learning to relax that pelvic floor, learning to relax those muscles. It's super important when you push out your baby because, as you can imagine, if your muscles are all tight as you're pushing the baby through, that's not a big win. And so a lot of prenatal yoga programs will have you get into a deep squat and then really relax those pelvic floor muscles by taking deep breaths and kind of stretching it out. If you're like, Hilary, I have no idea what you're talking about, there's lots of videos online, and I'm not an expert at this, but I recommend taking a breath where it goes directly into your lower belly and just really expanding, almost like you're breathing into your lady bits or to your birth canal, helping those areas expand through your breath. But again, there's tons of things online. If you got on this app and said, relax pelvic floor, pregnancy, I'm sure there would be lots of videos for you. Like I said before, keep moving. Now, I'm not here to say you should be doing a full workout. I'm not even saying you should be going on a walk around the block because I see a lot of physical therapists saying people do too much too early. I'm just saying don't just lay in the bed all day. Make sure that you're like taking a lap of your house every now and then to make sure that you're keeping things going. Editor Hilary here, watching this video, and I completely forgot to say to increase your fiber and your fluid intake. I don't know where my head was when I recorded this video. Up your fiber. I think one of the best ways to do that is fruit. If you're not challenged with diabetes, beans, those types of things. I think a lot of us don't understand what fiber is in. Like raspberries is a really good one. Dried fruit. If you were on the dates train during pregnancy, maybe you want to continue that for a little bit. And then increase your fluid. Of course, you're going to want to do that if you're also breastfeeding, but those are two things to keep in mind as well. I have no idea where my head was. Good thing editor Hilary is here to fix it. Now, I totally recommend having a few supplies on hand. In the hospital, we give you a little periwash bottle, which is just like a little squeeze bottle that you can squirt at those lady bits that helps it to feel really good. However, if you want to upgrade, and I totally wish I had done this, I would recommend getting a bidet. They are not that hard to install, and I think it would have been so nice and handy to have had after I had my baby. Plus, it just cleans off that area really nicely as well. If you don't know what it is, it just sprays clean. It's not spraying toilet water. It's spraying clean water from your water system onto that area to relax and also clean it off. And then you aren't having to wipe, because a lot of times wiping can make all of this a lot worse. And when your labor nurse takes you to the toilet that first time, she's also going to remind you to pat, not wipe. And then that's really important as well. Another thing you can have on hand is some witch hazel pads. Most people use Tucks, but there are a few different brands out there. Some of them are targeted just to pregnant moms, and they have a few different things to help you heal as well. Tucks are actually made mostly, I believe, for hemorrhoids. At least that's how I've always seen them marketed. So if you have hemorrhoids, Tucks can be really handy. And hopefully your labor nurse, after you have your baby, will show you how to line the Tucks on your pad to get that next to your bottom, and it'll just help it to feel better. Witch hazel is actually an anti-inflammatory, which is how they use it there. And stay tuned. I'm going to tell you how to take care of your bottom after you have the poop, because there's even more there. So stay tuned. Now here we have a little story time. Hilary, with her first baby, had a 3 to 4th degree tear, and it was real swollen down there. I had a forceps delivery. By the way, if you're looking for more information about forceps, I'll put a link down below. But it does increase your chances of tearing, and it definitely did for Hilary. And I went almost a full week without doing the number 2. And when I did that, like, I wanted the epidural then. It was so painful. It was like all the painful of my bottom, plus those tissues around where the poop comes out, called your rectum, were just so irritated. I wanted to die. So I don't want that for you. I had a combination of using narcotics, taking that Ducosate sodium instead of something else that actually worked, along with kind of holding it off because I really didn't want anything to happen in that area, versus if you feel it, let's just let it out. Don't hold it in, because the longer you hold it in, the worse constipated you're going to get. So those are my tips there. I took a birth class that was just like, it's going to be sunshine and rainbows after you have your baby. They didn't talk about any of this, and I want better for you. That's why in the online prenatal class for couples, I made those 2 chapters to really get you prepared about what postpartum is going to look like and also how to make it easier. The good news is I was very prepared for taking care of my bottom after that thing went on. I have a whole video on taking care of your bottom after you have your baby. I'm going to put that link up above and down below. Thanks for joining us here on The Pregnancy Nurse, where we get you prepared, not scared, for your upcoming birth and postpartum journey.